Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Who Is or Explained type of video. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on what seems to be or who seems to be a brand new character in the Walking Dead television series, but a character that has been around for a very long time in the comic book series. We're going to be talking about and answering the question, who is Dwight? Spoiler warning, if you have not seen The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 6, always accountable because, of course, it is the first appearance, I would say, of Dwight in the Walking Dead television series. Now, this isn't 100% confirmed that Austin Amelio's character is, in fact, Dwight. However, Norman Reedus did let it slip in an interview with IGN and referred to him as Dwight. So I think it's pretty easy to say at this point that that's exactly who this character is. I mean, he looks exactly like the comic book series version, almost verbatim, very, very close, with the exception he doesn't have the half-burned face, which we'll get into soon in the comic book version. But yeah, I mean, you know, his MO is there 100%. He uses a crossbow as well, and near the end of the episode, we see Austin Amelio's character Dwight steal the crossbow along with the female that he's with from Daryl, along with the motorbike bastard. So hopefully Daryl will get that back. I'm sure he will. Austin Amelio has tweeted on Twitter that he'll be back for the finale. If we don't see him even sooner, some people think he's the one that's on the radio because the voice does sound a bit like him, maybe a bit more than Glenn, according to most people I've seen in the comments thus far, and that maybe he could be trying to lure Daryl into some kind of a trap. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that. So that said, there's the television series version from what we've seen so far. I did like Austin Amelio's performance thus far, and I felt like he fits the comic book series version of Dwight almost verbatim, and it finally ends the debate of whether or not Daryl is Dwight because they're so similar. They both use a crossbow, they both have the longer hair, they both ride the motorcycle, and have that kind of grungier look. So it's nice to see that they are for sure separate now, and we know that, and that Daryl is going to have his own villain, so to speak, or opposite on the side of the villains, on the side of the saviors. So that's all we can say so far about the television series version of him. Let's talk more about the comic book series version of which he is based from. I'm actually surprised at this point. I've never actually done a Who is Dwight video from the comic book series. I guess it's because he's always been kind of a changing character, and he really is an interesting character. It's kind of hard to tell exactly what he's doing, and they've played up that angle in the television series really well already. You really don't know whose side he's on. I guess if you'd have to say which side he's on his own side. He's on whatever side he thinks is going to win. That's what side he chooses. So the description from the wiki for Dwight reads, Dwight is a main character first introduced in issue 98 of Image Comics' The Walking Dead, and is a member of the Saviors who has a half-burnt face due to Negan, the leader of the Saviors. Dwight wields a crossbow, which has been used to kill many zombies, and also blank. I'm not going to spoil it. Major character he actually kills in the comic book series. You can look into that yourself if you want to know. It was revealed in issue 108 that Dwight is the husband of Sherry after Negan's fall. Dwight became the leader of the Saviors, and in the 2-year gap, he and Sherry got separated. So there's his first kind of appearance. He came right around the time Negan was presented in the television or in the comic book series. I guess in the television series they've kind of even brought him in even sooner, really. And he does look a bit different. He doesn't have the scarring on the face yet. And I say yet because in the television series we see him trying to escape, trying to say screw your rules to Negan, who is the leader of the Saviors, and has these very specific rules that you can't break, and if you do, he will burn your goddamn face with an iron. Which is why in the television series version, Dwight's face is not scarred yet. We assume that later on we will see that, and it's probably going to be burnt pretty good, and that's why he will become that way and look like the comic book series counterpart in the television series, most likely later on. But we'll see what they do with him. They could do whatever they want, of course, as we've seen many times. So, as I mentioned, there's been quite a bit of discussion, over the years of whether or not Dwight and Daryl are the same character because they are so similar. You have Daryl who uses the crossbow, who was actually in the television series first, and then the character in the comic book series, Dwight, was created afterwards, which led many of us to believe that we might see Daryl in the comic book series eventually because he's never been in the comic book series. For those of you who have never read it, you might be surprised by that. Norman Reedus' Daryl is an original character for the television series, was never in the comic book series. So that said, we do get Dwight in the comic book series, and aside from his sort of disloyalty and not being loyal to one particular group or one particular master, he and Daryl have a lot of similarities. Aside from the fact that they look very similar, they also act very similar. Neither of them really wants to be in charge. I mean, they kind of like to go off on their own seemingly, or they kind of like to do their own thing. When they have to take charge, when they have to become a leader, so to speak, not that Daryl has shied away from it, but Dwight definitely has in the comic book series, to where he doesn't really like having to be in charge. He doesn't really like having to take over from Negan after, of course, Rick's group eventually does defeat him, because, well, the good guy has to win for the most part, in The Walking Dead. Granted, there are some exceptions to that rule. So, yeah, he is a fun character. He is a cool character to see. Definitely look forward to seeing him in the television series. Most fun thing about him is that you don't know what he's going to do. He's so unpredictable, you just never know. He's also a very good fighter in the comic book series. He's very accurate with the crossbow, which I assume we're going to see him become later on in the television series version. That is, granted, that Daryl doesn't get his crossbow and motorbike back, which we'll have to see how that all works out and what happens with that exactly. He also doesn't really like Negan, of course, because Negan burns his face and punishes him, and as he tried to escape earlier on, Negan just won't quite let him go, and does want him back. I guess you could say he's kind of to Negan what Daryl is to Rick. So if Daryl is Rick's number 2, or Morgan is around there too, one of his lieutenants, so to speak, then Dwight would be one of Negan's lieutenants in the Saviors group, which is the next large group of villains that we're going to see in the Walking Dead television series. So I'm really excited to see him again. He is a huge character from the comic book series. It's nice to finally see him in the television series, even though he hasn't undergone his total evolution to be kind of that same character that we see in the comic book series yet at this time. I'm sure we're going to see that over time, and it's going to be awesome to see Dwight's journey step by step all the way through up until later on, where we're at current point in the Walking Dead comic book series. So that's it for this Who Is video. I hope I gave you guys enough info without spoiling too much. Of course, it's kind of impossible to give you info on the comic book series without giving you a direction of where the story's going to go. The two are kind of conflicting, or a trade-off. So the more I give you, the less you wonder, the more you want to know, and then I don't want to spoil too much. So hopefully that was good, a good mix, and if you guys liked the video, you can thumb it up below. Send me your questions for the Q&As this week. If you can share, you can favorite, and if you're new, you want to subscribe, you can go ahead and subscribe at the bottom left. That's it for today's Daily Dead for you guys. I'll see you again tomorrow. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace.